It is now 7:58 p.m. on the 16th of March 2026. I think we got 4 more days before we enter into that special season of the year called spring, which is probably based on the idea of spring's plants springing up from the earth, growing their green leaves, and then prospering as the summer approaches. Anyway, we're looking at Precept. It's a bit early. We got a 5-second exposure here. I'm basically doing an early intro to sky conditions. The sky is clearly or apparently blue overhead. So we're not quite into sky dark. I don't expect we'll get there till about 8:30 this evening. Meanwhile, the NGC 2650 to 2699 series is so far to the east that it's not going to give a good view for at least another half an hour, so we'll wait for then. Every hour, the sky progresses sidereally by 15 degrees at the celestial equator, true degrees. So we're going to have to wait for a bit before we can actually go ahead and begin with our NGC 2650, which probably, as I've already researched a little bit of, is too far north. We're going to have to probably start with something like 51 or 52. What I want to do is come back to this in about 15 minutes and show you what the sky is like then. And the reason I selected the Beehive cluster, M44, is because I noticed there were some faint galaxies in the background in our last tour, NGC 2600 to 2649. Okay, some 15 to 20 minutes later, it's now 8:19. I look up at the sky. Unless my eyes were dark adapted, I'm not seeing any bluishness in it. Here is one of the galaxies I've noticed beautiful edge on the other evening. Not sure I was able to track it down in terms of its designation, but perhaps it'll pop up. Right now, we're pretty much close to culminating. I don't think it is going to pop up because I think we're going to go further east than this as we engage the NGC. Once again, I think it's going to be 2650 to 2699 series. Let's head out. NGC 2650 was way too far north, so we're headed off to NGC 2651. 51 is a galaxy in Cancer. I believe we're seeing it right there. Magnitude 15.5, so obviously that's photographic, 0.6 by 0.5 arc minutes. Spiral with peculiarities, and yes, the core does seem to be displaced from its aura. 392 million light years distant puts it maybe somewhere around 60,000 light years in diameter. We're at RA 8 hours, 43 minutes, 55 seconds with a declination of plus 11 degrees, 46 minutes, 14 seconds. And I'm looking at the scope, and I don't think we'll have any issues with blockages or reflections off roof tries this evening. NGC 2652. Oh, maybe I should be doing a realignment. Let's determine which one this is. Yes, it is a brightish galaxy, so I may have to synchronize the scope. NGC 2652 is a galaxy in sextants. It's also NGC 2974, so perhaps we'll skip that one. Maybe not, because this is a beautiful galaxy. Magnitude 10.9, 3.4 by 2.1 arc minute, football-shaped spiral with a lowercase a, 89 million light years distant, puts it about 80,000 light years in diameter, maybe 70. RA is 942.33 with a declination of minus 341.56. Okay, here's our resynchronized view of NGC 2652. A little bit off, but I'm going to live with that. And here is our 150x, followed by 105x view of a 10.9 magnitude NGC 2962. I'm sorry, that's 2560. 26? To be clear, NGC 2652 Galaxy in sections, also 2974, magnitude 10.9, 3.4 by 2.1, 89 million light years distant. I've given you this information before, and we may revisit 2974, this very same galaxy, later. NGC 2657, I believe we can just make it out, is the 13th magnitude galaxy. Not where I expected it to be, so maybe I didn't. In Cancer, the Crab, magnitude 13, 1.3 by 1.3, spiral, lowercase cd. This is as immature a galaxy as you get, which tells me that this is probably a star in alignment with it, not the core of the galaxy. It's got a ring around it, though. Interesting. 186 million light years distant. RA is 8 hours, 45 minutes, 15 seconds, with a declination of 9 degrees, 38 minutes, 44 seconds. And yes, we're just barely making out a core in the CD class galaxy. Boy, we're getting a lot of satellite trails here. Oh, what a beauty. Definitely, this has got to be an angular. It's not saying it, though. NGC 2661 is a galaxy in Cancer, magnitude 12.8, 1.4 by 1.4. We're looking right at us, guys. Spiral with a lowercase c. It does have a visible core. 184 million light years distant, probably 70,000 light years in diameter. RA is 8:45:59 with a declination of plus 12 degrees, 37 minutes, 11 seconds. And if you're wondering why I'm out tonight, that atmospheric river that was flowing was pushed further north by warm winds blowing up from California area. NGC 2662 is squarely behind a diffraction bar, and we can make it out there. What magnitude do you think that is? Well, it's a galaxy in Hydra, so it's pretty far south. 0.8 by 0.8 arc-minute elliptical, so it's mostly core-ish. RA is 8 hours, 45 minutes, 32 seconds with a declination of minus 15:07:17. And if I say it's specified as magnitude 15, you'd go pshaw, given that far south. And you'd probably be right. This is a photographic magnitude of an elliptical galaxy. Typically, you subtract 1.5 magnitudes for that very reason. NGC 2664. I am not seeing any galaxies in this field. I am seeing a loose association of stars, and that's what we're looking for. It's called an open cluster, 5 arc minutes in size, but it doesn't have any specification as to its compactness and relative magnitudes of stars. We're at RA 8:47:09 with a declination of plus 12 degrees, 36 minutes, and 10 seconds, and we are in Cancer, the Crab, for NGC 2664. NGC 2665, well, the sky looks so good, and it's deeper south, minus 19 degrees, 18 minutes, and 11 seconds. For NGC 2665, galaxy in Hydra, magnitude 12.2, 2 by 1.5 arc-minute. We're getting a great view. It's described morphologically as a spiral with a bar and lowercase a, so fairly mature, 75 million light years distant, puts it at about 45,000 light years in diameter. RA is 8:46:01 with a declination of minus 19 degrees, 18 minutes, and 11 seconds. Okay, we be poking straight up now for NGC 2666, an open cluster in Ursa Majoris, the Great Bear. The only information I have at its distance is 2,800 light years. RA is 8:49:47 with a declination of plus 44 degrees, 42 minutes, and 16 seconds. Backing out just to give it a sense that it may actually be an open cluster. That's probably our candidate right there. NGC 2667A, obviously there's a galaxy there. It's in a weird position. I wonder if just the data is mucked. I don't know. Could be the mount. It is used, as I've mentioned previously. It's a galaxy in Cancer, magnitude 15, 0.8 by 0.3 arc-minute spiral with peculiarities. So it's being disturbed or it's assimilated in another galaxy. 183 million light years distant. This one's fairly small, maybe 60,000 light years in diameter. RA is 8 hours, 48 minutes, 27 seconds with a declination of plus 19 degrees, 1 minute, and 8 seconds. And once again, let's see, it's a spiral with peculiarities. I believe this is the only galaxy in the field, so it's actually quite brighter on the visual magnitude, maybe magnitude 14 or 13.5. Okay, where there is an A, there is also a B, and they're typically quite close, having been resolved later on and noticing the difference. 2667b is a galaxy, once again in Cancer, magnitude 15.5, 8 by zero point 0.2 arc minutes. This one should be showing some sense of being edgy on, and we're not really getting it. It's just called a spiral of peculiarities. Now, I will tell you, when galaxies start to approximate like this, they do set up a massive amount of star creation, which is one of the processes by which galaxies mature from, let's say, a D-class spiral with barely a core to a lenticular galaxy later on in its evolution. This is spiral peculiarities, 194 million light years distant, RA 84830 with a declination of plus 190234. Time's now 8:41, and Sirius is probably 5 degrees post-culminatory, and we're looking for NGC 2668, a galaxy in Lynx, and I think we are turning it up. Magnitude 13.8, 1.2 by 0.6 arc minutes. This is a clear 13.8, as you can tell, based on the fact that we were seeing 15th magnitude galaxies as bright, if not brighter. It's a spiral with a bar in lowercase ab, 346 million light years distant, maybe 120,000 light years in diameter. RA 84922 with a declination of plus 364236. Give it a shot at 150x and head out. NGC 2672 is pretty clear, even at 30x, near the middle of the field. Galaxy in Cancer, magnitude 11.7, 2.5 by 2.4 arc minutes. Going up to our 150x view. This one also seems to have a neighbor, but it's not an AB. It's an elliptical class 1, brilliant core with an aura around it. 185 million light years distant, puts this probably somewhere around 130,000 light years in diameter, large for an elliptical. RA 84921 with a declination of plus 19 degrees 4 minutes 27 seconds. Its neighbor, of course, with some 13 stacks, because it triangulated in the stars when I shifted it just to confirm it was a neighbor, is a galaxy, of course, in Cancer, magnitude 14.5, 0.9 by 0.9 arc minute, elliptical of the class O, but peculiarities, and no wonder it's got peculiarities, right? 171 million light years distant. This one's about half the size of the last one. It's probably somewhere around 50 to 60,000 light years in diameter. RA 84924 with a declination of plus 19 degrees 4 minutes 26 seconds. NGC 2674 is a galaxy in Hydra. It's magnitude 15. I suspect this is a real magnitude 15 galaxy. Kind of hard to pick out. I'm going to back out again. Things tended to be a little bit off to the right. Okay, we'll step through. 0.6 by 0.3 arc minute spiral with a lowercase a. So it should have a fairly bright core with a 2-to-1 aspect ratio. I'm still searching the field. Nothing's sticking out at me. How about you? It's at right ascension 849.13 with a declination of minus 14 degrees 17 minutes 39 seconds. Now, I have noticed occasionally in Steve Gottlieb's write-ups, that might be our galaxy, that there is none at the suspected position. But I think that is actually our NGC 2674. And it is clearly, if that is the case, yes, indeed, you can tell by the extensions, a magnitude 15. It'd be interesting to see what visual magnitude Steve Gottlieb ascribes to it. NGC 2677 is probably somewhere near a 5th or 6th magnitude star. Galaxy in Cancer, magnitude 15. Yes. 0.6 by 0.3 spiral peculiarities, 198 million light years distant. Could be down here. Right ascension, 8 hours, 50 minutes, and 1 second with a declination of plus 19 degrees and 34 seconds. So which of those two do you think is a magnitude 15? I would claim that one. No, it's not a duplicate. Anyway, that's very peculiar. AdventuresInDeepSpace.com. Let's have that 105x view and head out. Well, clearly there's an open cluster here, but that's not the one because the other open cluster has very limited data. Should be one right about here in the field. It's NGC 2678 in Cancer, 10 by 2.5 arc minutes. So a very vertical or horizontal, narrow columnar open cluster stars. Who guessed what? I can't guess. There's no specification as to descriptors, whether it's condensed or whether it's various magnitudes. 2,900 light years distant, RA 852 with a declination of plus 11 degrees, 20 minutes, 18 seconds. We're more than halfway through, 16 minutes in, and we're at NGC 2678. NGC 2679 shouldn't be visible at 30x. That may or may not be it, but it's a double star. Well, sometimes many of those galaxies in the eyepiece observing realm were double stars, but this one seems to have a bit of an aura around it, so it could be a nebulosity. But NGC 2679 is supposed to be a galaxy in Cancer. Interesting. Magnitude 14.5, yeah. 1.8 by 1.8 arc minutes, sure. One's a star probably, and the other could be the nucleus of a galaxy. And let's do the descriptor. Spiral with a bar of the lenticular class. Ooh, that could work. Face-on lenticular spiral. 94 million light years distant, maybe 60,000 light years in diameter. There's a faint galaxy off over here, too. Anyway, we're at 8 hours, 51 minutes, 32 seconds with a declination of plus 30 degrees, 51 minutes and 53 seconds. Okay, yes, indeed, that is a second galaxy. Let's drop it back down to our best view of 105x. NGC 2680. Now I need to call up the data, get a good look. We're going to get lots of stacks on this one. All right, we got 16 stacks. NGC 2680 is apparently butt up against 2679. Galaxy Cancer, magnitude 14.5. Pretty bright. Probably visual. 0.2 by 0.2 arc minute. Size compact. Wow. Be interesting to see this pair in the skylive.com. Right ascension 8:51:33 with a declination of plus 30 degrees, 51 minutes, 55 seconds. This one's tiny. There's no specification as to distance, maybe on the previous galaxy. Okay, off to center up on that open cluster in Cancer. You probably suspect that it is, in fact, a Messier. This is a very nice open cluster. Messier 67, magnitude 6.9, cumulative 30 arc minutes in size. That field is about 75 arc minutes. Let's squeeze it up a little bit, although it's probably prettier with a sprinkling of stars. There are about 200 stars in it. The brightest are magnitude 9.7, which basically says about 2.8 magnitudes brighter than fainter than the cumulative magnitude. It's a class 2-2. Well, there we go with your 2-2. 3,000 light years distant. RA 85118 with a declination of plus 1148 and no seconds in declination. Very nice cluster. Messier 67, NGC 2682. I wanted to disclose this brilliant galaxy here. Wow, what a beauty. NGC 2683 is a galaxy in lengths. It's magnitude 9.8. Brilliant, large, edge-on galaxy. Let's look for some kind of bar across the middle. No, that might be a little tilt, but we can get the faint glimmerings of a lane demarcating its northwestern boundary. This is magnitude 9.8, 8.8 by 2.5 arc minutes spiral with a bar, 23 million light years distant. So it's not that big, maybe 50,000 light years in diameter. Let's push it up. Get that 105x view. I don't think we have to go much beyond this. What a beauty. RA 85241 with a declination of plus 33 degrees, 25 minutes, 14 seconds. This would be a wonderful one to go out on if I can remember 2683. Wow. Nice sky out there. We're down to NGC 2690, not too far south. Let's push it up. Another nice edge-on galaxy, more distant, no doubt. Magnitude 13.1, 1.9 by 0.5, 4 to 1 aspect ratio, roughly. Spiral with a lowercase ab, distinctive core, with extensions 71 million light years distant, RA 85238, with a declination of a mere minus 2 degrees, 36 minutes, 12 seconds. Let's push it up to 150 and then drop back down to 105x, and then give it a kiss. Goodbye for the time being. Okay, here we go. NGC 2691 is also a 13. This is a 13.1 magnitude galaxy. Should be an interesting comparo. The galaxy is right there. I think it looks fairly comparable in terms of its presentation. Let's get the data on it. It's not edge-on, however. Magnitude 13.1. It's a galaxy in lengths 1.2 by 0.8 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase a. 185 million light years distant. RA is 85446 with a declination of plus 39 degrees, 32 minutes, and 19 seconds. Much further north, but it gives a very similar view of its core. Let's make sure we get that 105x view. You probably noticed we had lots of skippage this evening. There were many further north galaxies. Ursa Majoris, the Great Bear, has quite a few in it, and most of them are above 45 degrees and would therefore experience roof tri blockage. But we did get a good start tonight, so we haven't had any issues with the far northerns. What we're seeing here is NGC 2695 Galaxy and Hydra. It's magnitude 11.9. Now, we're going to have to distinguish between these two galaxies. I suspect it's this one here. Let's push it up. All right. Now, magnitude 11.9. Here's our first clue. 1.7 by 1.2 arc minutes. The brighter one down there seems to be a little more 1-to-1 aspect ratio. Now, the next clue is it's a lenticular spiral. So it should have a fairly extensive and bright core. Well, that favors the one below. 84 million light years distant. Puts it maybe 40,000 light years in diameter, so it's a smallie. RA is 85427 with a declination of minus 3 degrees, 4 minutes, and 2 seconds. NGC 2695 is a galaxy in Hydra. Let's see where we go next. NGC 2696 was not that neighboring galaxy. It was a bit too far east to be it. We're revealing a galaxy here, but there's others in the field. This one's a galaxy in Hydra, magnitude 14.3, face on 1.3 elliptical. 577 million light years distant means this is probably somewhere around 175 to 80,000 light years in diameter, if the information is correct. RA is 85042 with a declination of minus 5 degrees and 34 seconds. Let's have a look at 105x and maybe go from there. 150x view. NGC 2697. Ah, yes, indeed. That is our other suspected galaxy. It's in Hydra. Here's the brighter one we saw before, which was the elliptical. What do you think this is? Not an elliptical, I would suspect. Its magnitude 12.3, 1.8 by 1.1 arc minutes, sure. Spiral with a lowercase a. Nice study between elliptical and spiral galaxies there, isn't it? 81 million light years distant, puts it at probably about 60,000 light years in diameter. RA 85459 with a declination of -2 degrees, 59 minutes and 15 seconds. Let's get that 105x view, center them both up, and head out. NGC 2698 is in that same group of galaxies, but we got to figure out which one it is. I think this was 97. This is an edgy on. This is a fainter galaxy here. Let's push it up to 105x, frame the four of them up. This is magnitude 12.6, 1.5 by 0.5. I think you can work that one out. Spiral with lowercase a, 81 million light years distant, maybe 35,000 light years in diameter. RA is 8 hours, 55 minutes, 36 seconds, with a declination of -3 degrees, 11 minutes and 3 seconds. Maybe we'll get this one next, which should probably be somewhere around magnitude 14.5, 15. Okay. We are still with that same group of galaxies, and I suspect the one we're looking at here is our next study. But I will tell you something. I previewed the data, and it doesn't make any sense. However, this could also possibly be a galaxy and map better against it. This is our last study in the NGC 2650 to 2699. We had a lot of skippage, maybe 50%, either too far south or too far north. 2699 is a galaxy in Hydra, magnitude 12.6, 1.1 by 1. It is an elliptical, 85 million light years distant. Kind of tiny, isn't it? Maybe 30,000 light years in diameter. Right ascension is 8:55:48 with a declination of -3 degrees, 7 minutes, 40 seconds. Since I'm going to be doing a second series tonight, I suspect you may want to go to adventuresindeepspace.com and plug in NGC 2699 and scope out this entire series. And that is our beauty shot with the minimal amount of presence on the screen. But I love the stars, and if we push it up to 45x, we get pretty much the same kind of glorious view. Let's go to 2683. Okay, I'm using 4-inch settings briefly. I'll push the magnification up, and the reason I do this is I want to see whether or not Charles Messier might have detected this galaxy. NGC 2683 is galaxy in Lynx, magnitude 9.8, beautiful edge on, 8.8 by 0.25. I think he could have seen it possibly. We're at 0.1 second exposure time. Let's go to a 14-inch view. Okay, we've increased our exposure time by a factor of 10 to a 1 second exposure. And there is our view that you might get through, let's call it anywhere from a 12 to a 15-inch telescope. Very, very nice. You probably want to push the magnification up a bit. Here's 105. It should fit into your retina. Have to figure out the ratios. Anyway, let's now go on to a 10-second exposure. Or we'll step through to 5. Okay, here is our first pass at a 5-second exposure. We've got more stacks than this earlier, but it is a quite nice view. Now, I'm not going to go to 10. I'm going to go to 30. Okay, we have brightened up considerably with a 30-second exposure, and I believe that's somewhere around 74 inches in eyepiece equivalency. Wow, what a beauty. Let's try a 60-second and see if we get comatose stars. Okay, let's watch this pop, and it just did. This is a 60-second exposure. The stars are looking pretty good. There's even a little tiny double down here. All right, we did not get any comatose extensions over a 60-second cycle, so the scope tracked pretty well, and the software worked well because the stars are all pretty sharp. It was able to overlay. Let's see if we can get one more stack. And as we wait for this stack another 30 seconds, we're now 29 minutes 30 seconds into this video. I'll give you the data once again. NGC 2683 is a galaxy in length, magnitude 9.8, 8.8 by 2.5 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase b, 23 million light years distant. RA 8, 52, 41, declination plus 33, 25, 14, and no, it was not discovered by Charles Messier or Pierre Michel. Here's our view. Okay, and with that, I'm going to say Carpe Noctem.